What we need is not more medication, but more education, because the best prescription is knowledge. This is Exposé coming to you live from Lagos, Nigeria, every Monday on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook simultaneously. I'm the regular host, Tony Akinyemi. Don't forget, what we need is not more medication, but more education, because the best prescription is knowledge. Hello and welcome to Exposé with Tony Akinyemi. Today being the last Monday of the month of August 2022, I am honored to have you with me this beautiful Monday evening in West Africa. And whatever the time of day is, wherever you're watching from the world, on YouTube or on Facebook, welcome. It's a very beautiful week that has commenced, and we thank God for bringing us this far. We want to continue our conversation on medical gases. In the last episode, we talked about different modes of administering oxygen. We looked at low flow administration methods. We looked at high flow administration methods. We looked at positive pressure administration methods. And then we were supposed to look at other methods of administration before time caught up with us. So I want to just talk about one more mode of administration today, which is the neonatal incubators, okay, which provides oxygen supplementation, and it does so by increasing the concentration of oxygen in the interior chamber without directly administering the oxygen to the baby when you put a baby in an incubator. Okay, this differs from other forms of oxygenation in that the atmosphere in a controlled environment is changed rather than oxygen administered to the patient. That is neonatal incubators. Now, however, more traditional forms of oxygenation may also be an option in this case as well. Now, that concludes the 4 different modes of administering oxygen. Now, today we'll be looking at EWOT more extensively and our need for oxygen in particular. I mentioned last week that EWOT, E-W-O-T, stands for exercise with oxygen therapy. EWOT. Now, EWOT is when we utilize oxygen while exercising, either by using a cannula, to put into the nostrils, or a mask to administer the oxygen. And then typically, the person wears the cannula or the mask, and the person is exercising on a treadmill or a stationary bicycle or any such similar exercise equipment while breathing in oxygen. And again, I'm sure images will be shown to you of people who are on ecliptic devices and the treadmills while they're wearing their oxygen mask in order to inhale oxygen. Now, EWOT, like I said, stands for exercise with oxygen therapy. And it is meant to increase oxygen circulation at a rapid pace while you are exercising. Okay? When we oxygenate our blood, it helps in many ways. It reduces inflammation, it increases energy, and it helps us to maintain super health. Because you see, low level of oxygen or oxygen deprivation is actually a leading cause of all kinds of problems, including cancers, infections, and what have you. All right, so we will be talking more about EWOT today, and subsequently we'll be talking about HBOT, hyperbaric oxygen therapy. And then we will move on to ozone therapy. And I promise you, I'll be bringing you medical experts who are functional medical doctors who are involved in integrative medical practice. In other words, they integrate orthodox medicine with alternative medicine in their practice. I'll be bringing some of them and interviewing them so that they can delve more into deeper dimensions as far as hydrogen therapy and oxygen therapy as well as ozone therapy are concerned. But before I go on today, I want to do a few demos for you so that you can see, so that I can get all of these, my items of equipment out of the way, and then we can continue our conversation. I've already discussed with you about my hydrogen water flask, okay? I just press it this way and it comes on, and there hydrogen is bubbling into it. So I can do the bubbling for 3 minutes, I can do it for 10 minutes, depending. Now let's assume that I have bubbled my hydrogen into this water. Now I can drink it. That's one way of administration. Another way is that I can actually do, I can nebulize. And this is my nebulizer, which I brought from home today. This one can be used to nebulize anything. You can nebulize hydrogen water. You can nebulize ozone, okay? Medical grade, ozone at certain concentrations. You can nebulize sodium chloride. Okay, you can use it to nebulize glutathione, many different things. Now, what you do is that you prepare, this is the water now, the hydrogen water, okay, already poured into this chamber, and I just connected it to my nebulizer, and then this is the face mask that I'm going to wear right now just to demonstrate it. So I wear my, all right, the thing is here. I hope you can still hear me. All right. So I just switch on, and then it converts the liquid into gas, and then I inhale it. So now all I do is to switch on my nebulizer, and then it converts whatever it is that I have put in this chamber, whether it is hydrogenated water or hydrogen peroxide or sodium chloride solution or whatever. I put on my nebulizer, and you can see, I hope you can see the vapor. Can the vapor show on the screen? Yeah. Okay. So that's the nebulizer. It can nebulize anything. So when people have conditions like when they have nasal issues, sinus issues, even people who are infected with COVID, I would normally nebulize with any of these things, whether it is hydrogen peroxide or sodium chloride or hydrogenated water or whatever. It's a very good way to get some things administered into the body. So that's my nebulizer and how it works. Okay, I've demonstrated this one. Now, the next one I want to show you today is my small portable ozone generator. This one is made actually in Nigeria, locally made. Of course, there are more sophisticated versions, the ones that are used in clinical settings. But this one is just for domestic use, and it doesn't cost an arm and a leg. So you can ozonate olive oil. You can pour your own olive oil into a jar, and you drop this stone into the olive oil, and you have ozonated olive oil. And that can be used for many conditions. You can use it for skin, conditions and what have you. That is as far as that is concerned. But I don't want to put it in the oil today. I want to ozonate water. You can use it to ozonate your water. All right. So I put the stone right here in the water, and then I just put it on, and it bubbles through. That is ozone going into that water. Okay. I have another one that I'll be bringing maybe on another episode to show you. That one, you simply place the bag on your skin, and it generates ozone, and it's absorbed through your skin directly. Okay, that's another kind of ozone generator. And as I bring the medical experts to talk to us, you will find out that there are more than 20 different ways to administer ozone. Okay, in fact, I'm already perceiving the smell of ozone in the air with this little generation that I did here. So you can use your ozone generator to ozonate your oil, olive oil. You have ozonated olive oil. You can use it on skin rashes on different skin conditions. You can use it to ozonate your water and drink ozone or ozonated water. You can also actually directly pass the ozone gas through the orifices. You can put it into the ear for ear insufflation. It can be put into the anus. And that actually helps with those with prostate issues and some other issues in that region. And for women, it can be pushed into the birth canal, all right? And that can also help to ozonate different routes of administration for ozone. When Dr. John comes on my platform for an interview, he will be telling you more than 20 different routes of administering ozone. So let's be patient and let's wait for that. So I promise I'll be bringing you another one, another device. This one, it doesn't involve water or oil or anything for that matter. There is an ozone bag. You just place it on your bare skin, maybe on your thigh, for example, and then you activate the machine. It continues to work. It generates the ozone gas and it penetrates through your skin, directly into your skin. And that is how to administer ozone directly through your skin without any invasion whatsoever. Just place the bag on your leg and that's it. Okay, so I have shown you my hydrogen water bottle. I've shown you my nebulizer. I've shown you my ozone generator. I'll be showing you a few other things in the course of this conversation. All right, so again, sometimes in the past when I was talking about light therapy, I discussed blue light blocking glasses. Now, anytime I am in the studios to make this broadcast, you know, I have a lot of studio lights on my face. So this one helps me a lot to block those penetrating lights into my eyes. So I'm wearing my blue light blocking glasses. And I want every one of you to please obtain one. It doesn't cost an arm and a leg. So when you're looking at your phone, your iPad, your laptop, your desktop, or even watching television or whatsoever, wear your blue light blocking glasses to protect your eyes and to also regulate so many processes in your body. I have discussed that in the past. If you missed those episodes on blue light and red light therapy, I want you to please go back on our YouTube archive and go watch those past episodes. So today we're looking at medical gases. Again, we are continuing our conversation on medical gases. We've looked at about 6 different types of gases, and we are zeroing in on the last 3, which is hydrogen, oxygen, and ozone. And then we've discussed hydrogen extensively already. If you missed those episodes as well, please go watch them. They are all there on our YouTube channel. Just type in Exposé with Tony Akinyemi on YouTube search engine, and then it will bring it out and you can watch those episodes. Now, so we're looking at exercise with oxygen today, and then we'll look at hyperbaric oxygen therapy. Those 2 will be the therapies we'll be looking at under oxygen. We have dealt with hydrogen, now we are dealing with oxygen. Next, we will deal with ozone. Now, so there have been devices that have been used to administer oxygen in the past when it comes to EWOT, exercise with oxygen. So there are old devices and there are new devices. In the past, EWOT utilized low flow face mask. You know, I just showed you one example of a face mask that you can wear, okay, like this one. You can wear it and it can deliver the gas, oxygen gas. Or it can be nasal cannulas, the one that you put into the nostrils and then you wear it around your ear. These are connected to oxygen generators. An oxygen generator is a device that takes in room air, compresses it, and then it removes certain gases from it. It removes nitrogen from it. It removes argon from it. And then, so at the end of the day, that oxygen generator is able to output up to 94% oxygen, which is more than 4 times the normal oxygen you find in a pure room or pure room air. Now, but these original devices only made up to 10 liters of oxygen per minute in the past, and it required more time of, you know, wearing the mask and the oxygen generator connected to it and breathing in it while you are exercising. Maybe you exercise for 45 minutes to 1 hour before you begin to see appreciable results. Now, but there are new devices in the market now, and the latest developments in EWOT therapy, which is exercise with oxygen therapy, has now been able to cut the time that you need to exercise while breathing in the oxygen before you see noticeable results dramatically. Now you can do just 15 minutes, and that will be good enough, for you to see results. Now, Jason Tibu, the founder and president of the website EWOT.com, EWOT.com, actually introduced the first open oxygen delivery system to the market in the year 2008, about 14 years ago from this day. Now, his EWOT products have evolved, and they are now based on the 15-minute quick procedure, and then the scientific research of Dr. Manfred von Ardin, who wrote the book that is now generally referred to as the Oxygen Bible. It's a 400-page book. The title of the book is Oxygen Multi-Step Therapy. Oxygen Multi-Step Therapy by Dr. Manfred von Ardin. Now, Ardin is spelled Ardenne. You can check that on Amazon.com or eBay or any other store for that matter and get a copy of that book, Oxygen Multi-Step Therapy. It's called the Oxygen Bible. 400 pages of information on oxygen therapy alone. Now, in this book, Dr. Manfred uses over 500 medical references. And then he offers scientific evidence based on about 10,000 studies to support the use of oxygen in improving cellular health. Okay, so to solve the problem with older technologies and slower results, the new device that does 15-minute sessions and gets fantastic results is called the Max O2. Max O2. Now, with Max O2 equipment for your EWOT therapy, exercise with oxygen therapy, a large bag is first filled with 900 liters of oxygen using an oxygen generator. Now, one full bag, once you fill the bag, now the machine, the Max O2, uses a non-breather high-flow mask of oxygen. We discussed that in the previous episode, the non-breather high-flow mask route of administration. That is the kind of mask it uses. Okay, it is connected to a large diameter hose and is used to deliver an unlimited supply of oxygen to meet the person's needs during the 15-minute exercise with oxygen session. Okay, the generator is only used to fill the bag beforehand, and once exercise begins, the person only depends on the oxygen that is already inside the bag. So you inhale from the bag, and then you exhale carbon dioxide into the room. The oxygen is HEPA filtered for purity as well, so that there are no contaminants in the oxygen. Just one 15-minute session on the Max O2 machine can deliver very many immense benefits. We're going to go on a very short break right now. And when we come back, we'll be looking at why all this hula baloo about oxygen. Why do we really need to bother ourselves about oxygen in the first place, let alone looking at different ways to administer more of it into our body? Don't go away. I'll be back very shortly. You will discover that what we need is not more medication, but more education. I'll be back shortly. Let me seize this moment to especially invite you to our upcoming 5F conference. It's our annual event. We started during the COVID year, and the maiden edition was a blast. And then in 2021, we had the second edition. The third edition is coming up this year, and September 30 to October 2. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I want to specially invite you to be my guest. If you are in Nigeria and you are in the Lagos area or even in Ogun State or your state, I invite you to join us live in our Worshiptorium at 18 Shogunle Street, Abule Onigbagbo, off Mobolaji Bank, Anthony Way. Ikeja is between Sheraton Hotel, Ikeja, and Eco Hospital. It's going to be a life-transforming conference. We deal with 5 major issues of our lives. Our faith, very, very foundational, very fundamental. And then our fitness, that's our health. Then we deal with our family issues, family. Then we deal with our finance. Then, of course, our future in this life and our future in the life to come. The whole essence of the 5F conference is to address those 5 important F's in our lives: your faith, your fitness, your family, your finance, and your future. And we have a lineup of incredible world-class, resource persons who will be ministering to us, some of them based in Nigeria, some based in Canada, and all of them will be talking to us from their areas of expertise. These are world-class facilitators. Now, if you don't live in Nigeria, just join us online. We will let the link be available to you one way or the other. Join us online or go to our YouTube channel, subscribe, and then when the time comes, your device will alert you that we have come live. It promises to be a life-changing experience. Thank you very much for your time and attention for this very brief advert on the 5F conference.
Introducing Healthy Newsletters on various health topics by Reverend Tony Akinyemi. To order, call +234 90 732 92100.
When I came and I listened to Reverend Tony, everything about my mindset changed immediately.
I've attended many seminars on wellness. I've taken many courses too on wellness, but I have been well impacted here.
Sincerely, I don't have a single regret for coming.
Welcome back. This is Exposé with Tony Akinyemi, brought to you by the Shepherd's Flock International Church. I'm sure you can see my ozone generator bubbling ozone into that water. All right, enjoy it while it lasts. Now, the question is, we need to talk about our oxygen need. Now, many of us are familiar with the fact that we need food to survive. But let me say to you that we can actually go for 40 days without food before serious damage can begin to set in the body. Of course, assuming that the individual concerned is in good shape, the health is fine, everything is beautiful. Okay, so a healthy, very fit individual can go without food for 40 days and there will be no physiological damage, no biochemical derangement or anything of such in the body. After all, in the Bible, we had several people who fasted for 40 days and 40 nights. Moses did it, Elijah did it, even our Lord Jesus Christ did it. And today, there are many ministers who have also done 40 days, no food whatsoever. Okay? Now, for Moses, the Bible actually says, no food, no water. 40 days, he was in the presence of God, and he didn't die. So you can go without food for up to 40 days. But once you exceed 40 days, you are crossing the line. Anything can happen. Okay? Personally, in the Bible, I haven't seen anybody going above 40 days. Now, you can only go without water and not cause serious problems in your body for a maximum of 4 days. 4 days without water. If you go beyond 4 days without water, except in very rare circumstances, very exceptional circumstances, as in the case of Moses in the Old Testament. He went for 40 days without food and 40 days without water. Now, in the Christian community, we call that dry fast. Okay, but not everybody is fit enough, physically fit enough to be able to undergo 40 days without food and without water. It is possible to go 40 days without food, but then you take water during the 40 days, and that will still be fine. You can go for a maximum of 4 days without water without causing problems in your body. And let me tell you, even though you can go without food for 40 days without a problem, you can go for 4 days without water without a problem, but you cannot go more than 4 minutes without oxygen without causing a problem. That person becomes brain dead. The brain cells are the first that will begin to die once a person goes without oxygen more than 4 minutes. Okay, so oxygen is very, very critical to life. Now, Dr. Otto Warburg was a 2-time Nobel Prize winner. Okay, he was a German scientist, and he made this statement, one of the discoveries that helped him to win the Nobel Prize. He said, and I quote, "All normal cells have an absolute requirement for oxygen, but cancer cells can live without oxygen, a rule without exception." And he says, deprive a cell 35% of its oxygen for 48 hours, and it may become cancerous. That's a quote from Dr. Otto Warburg, who won the Nobel Prize twice. And he was the one who found out that cancer cells thrive in a poorly oxygenated body, but cancer cells don't thrive in a highly oxygenated body, right? He says all normal cells have an absolute requirement for oxygen, but cancer cells can live without oxygen. The reason being that whereas normal body cells will process glucose and convert it into cellular fuel called adenosine triphosphate, or ATP, through a process of oxidation phosphorylation. That's the process for conversion. It's like refining crude oil into petrol. So you refine glucose into ATP. Now that process is done through an oxidation phosphorylation process. But cancer cells don't need oxygen to do that conversion. They do it through a fermentation process. That's why cancer cells are called anaerobic cells, whereas normal cells are aerobic cells. So when your body becomes oxygen deprived, you're actually making it a veritable ground, a fertile ground for the development of diseases, including cancer. Now, Dr. Ed McCabe also said, and I quote, he said, deprive a cell 60% of its oxygen and it will turn cancerous. Why do cells turn cancerous once they are deprived of adequate supply of oxygen? It is a survival instinct. It's an adaptation. Cells need oxygen normally to convert glucose or calories to cellular energy, ATP. But when oxygen is inadequate, the cells don't want to die. They still want to be able to have cellular energy. They still need ATP, but you are not giving them the oxygen they need for the refining. So what they do is they switch the process from an oxidation process to a fermentation process where they will no longer need oxygen. And so cancer cells just adapt. They just become aberrant, they become abnormal. Now they can begin to ferment and produce ATP without oxygen. And that's how they become cancerous. So Dr. McCabe says when you deprive a cell 60% of its oxygen need, it will turn cancerous. In other words, it will adapt to that low oxygen situation, and it will tell you, sorry, I don't need your oxygen, I can survive. I'm going to convert to become an organism that no longer requires oxygen to survive. And once it converts to that situation, that makes it cancerous. Can you see the connection between oxygen and cancer right now? And then I'll give you another quote from another scientist, Dr. Kurt Dunsbach. Dr. Dunsbach said, and I quote, he said, viruses are anaerobic creatures that thrive in the absence of oxygen. viruses are anaerobic creatures that thrive in the absence of oxygen, which means that the lower your oxygen level, the easier it is for viruses to thrive in your body, to infect you and cause problems for you. Now, Dr. Dunsbach also said yeast, mold, and fungus live in an anaerobic environment. You know, most strains of harmful bacteria as well as cancer cells are anaerobic and cannot survive in the presence of oxygen or hydrogen peroxide. So yeast, which is a fungus, mold, a fungus, you know, and even most strains of harmful bacteria as well as cancer cells, they all love it when oxygen is low in the body. That's when they thrive and do well. And that's why we must never be oxygen deprived. That's why we must do our utmost to ensure that we have enough oxygen in our system. Okay, so it's very important to make sure we change that situation. All right, let me put off my ozone generator here. Okay, good. So this water is ozonated now. I can drink it as ozonated water if I wanted to. Now, I saw a particular write-up in a particular book called Magnet Therapy. It was authored by W.H. Philpott, D.K. Kalita, and B. Goldberg. Those were the three authors of that book called Magnet Therapy. If you can lay your hands on that book, you can get it as well. Usually most of these resource materials, books and what have you are available online. I get most of my books from Amazon.com. All right, now the title of the book is Magnet Therapy, authored by W.H. Philpott, D.K. Kalita, and B. Goldberg. Now they said in that book, and I quote, "The fuel on which the body's cells run is called adenosine triphosphate, ATP. Now, ATP must be created by all cells, including cancer cells, for energy. Now, the biochemical process in which ATP is created is called oxidation phosphorylation. And that process is oxygen dependent. Healthy cells require the conditions of alkalinity and high molecular oxygen to produce ATP and function properly. In contrast, non-oxygen respiratory organisms like cancer cells make their own ATP by fermentation phosphorylation. And this process requires the conditions of acidity and low oxygen to function and actually produces additional acids, okay? Uric acid, for example. So if a person's body is acidic and low on oxygen, that is a wonderful recipe for cancer cells to emerge. An acidic body and a body that is low in oxygen provides a very good and thriving environment for cancer to do well. But when the situation is changed, I call it programming the terrain. When the terrain of the body is reprogrammed and you change the acidity to alkalinity and the hypoxic situation, low-level situation of oxygen in the body, you convert it to a highly oxygenated body, you have changed the parameters in the environment that supports the growth of cancer. All right, so that is as far as that is concerned. Now let's go back into time and look at where we were on this planet and where we are right now in relation to atmospheric oxygen. Now, according to the United States Geological Survey in the 1980s, the United States Geological Survey in the 1980s, it was reported that the Earth's atmosphere used to have 50% oxygen earlier in its history. In other words, if you took air in the atmosphere, you just captured air and took it to the lab to analyze, to find out what percentage of that air is oxygen, what percentage is nitrogen, what percentage is argon, what percentage is other gases, okay? It was said that the Earth's atmosphere in the beginning, maybe in the days of Adam and Eve and subsequent millennia after that, the quantity, the amount of oxygen that used to be in the atmosphere was about 50% of the atmosphere. But then it was discovered that about 100 years ago, the Earth's atmosphere still contained up to 38% of oxygen, 100 years ago. But in the 1950s, that number dropped to 21% of oxygen in our atmosphere. You can imagine what it is today if it was 21% in the 1950s. Today, it is said that the atmosphere contains only 19% oxygen. 19% oxygen. I found these pieces of information from the book written by Dr. Joel Wallach, one of my very favorite authors. Dr. Joel Wallach is a veterinary doctor with his wife, Malan, who is also a practitioner of TCM, traditional Chinese medicine. Okay, the title of the book, authored by these two great people, is called Dead Doctors Don't Lie. Dead Doctors Don't Lie. I bought the 4th edition. It was published in the year 2014. And these pieces of information I just shared with you, you can find them on page 255 of the book, Dead Doctors Don't Lie. I encourage you to go on Amazon.com and get that book as well and read it. It says, earlier in the history of the planet, according to the 1980s United States Geological Survey, the Earth's atmosphere used to have 50% oxygen earlier in its history. Then about 100 years ago, that dropped to 38% oxygen. In the 1950s, it dropped to 21% oxygen. And today, the atmosphere contains only 19% oxygen, particularly in metropolitan cities, where it is crowded and most of the vegetation have been wiped out, no trees, no plants, and what have you. So we need to begin to do something about that. Now, so the question is, what accounts for the gradual drop in atmospheric oxygen? Number one is the increased use of oxygen by oxygen-consuming species. You know, human beings, we breathe in oxygen, we breathe out carbon dioxide. Animals breathe in oxygen, they breathe out carbon dioxide. But plants is the opposite. Plants take in carbon dioxide and they give out oxygen. So as there is population explosion, human population, animal population, there is an increase in oxygen-consuming species. So which means demand for oxygen is higher now than previously. And then number two, reason why there is a gradual drop in atmospheric oxygen is because of fossil fuel combustion in vehicles, you know, electric-powered machines, power-generating plants, and what have you. All of these things consume oxygen to combust, and then they release carbon monoxide and different other toxic gases. And then the third reason is there is a lowering of oxygen production due to decreasing acreage of rainforest and aquatic algae. Now, algae in particular releases a lot of oxygen into the atmosphere, but there is a decrease in the amount of algae growing on our water bodies around the world today. So there's a lower oxygen production because we keep cutting down trees and cutting down trees. Now, in some countries, there are rules and regulations in town planning to ensure that every house must plant 1 or 2 trees in their premises before the house will be approved by the city for people to live in there. But in most third world countries, particularly in Africa here, where I live, in my own country, Nigeria, there's no such, building code. You don't have to plant a tree in your compound for your house to be habitable or before you are permitted to live in your house. Now, we just build up everywhere, bumper to bumper, so to speak. That there is no more tree, no more plants, no more. So we are having children, we are raising animals. These are consuming the oxygen in the air, but we are not putting plants around our houses to generate oxygen back, to replenish the oxygen. We have to be deliberate in doing this. Tree planting is very important. So I have challenged some of our government agencies in the past, and I ran into some troubles with some government officials because of that. I have no apologies anyway. I was invited to come and deliver a seminar a couple of years ago on why we have a very terrible life expectancy in this country. And I started making some analysis. I compared the statistics for Nigeria, like life expectancy in Nigeria, infant mortality in Nigeria, maternal mortality in Nigeria, and many, many other indices of health in Nigeria. Hospital bed density, physician density. I did all the statistical analysis for Nigeria, and then I rated Nigeria in comparison with Africa, and then Nigeria in comparison with the rest of the world. And I situated Nigeria that we were scoring so low on many of these indices. And then after the analysis, I began to profile answers and solutions to how we can improve our records, how we can improve our statistics. And then I touched upon town planning. And I said, it appears as if we don't have town planning departments in this country because just about anything goes. Building codes are not adhered to. People just build and build and build, particularly in the bubbling cities like Lagos, like Port Harcourt, and those other bigger, towns and cities. People just build, and the regulators are not there. They turn the other way, as if they are not seeing what is going on. And everywhere is choked up. And people don't plant trees, they don't plant flowers, they don't plant anything that will replenish the oxygen. And it is ourselves we are doing. Let me use the Nigerian English. We are doing ourselves, okay? We are the ones punishing ourselves. We are the ones that we pay for it. We need to do all we can so that we can replenish oxygen in the air, because there are implications for the gradual drop in atmospheric oxygen. Now we have an anaerobic biosphere that is low in oxygen. Most pathogenic organisms, incidentally, are anaerobic. So when we create an anaerobic bios, these pathogenic, in other words, disease-causing germs, they are happier, they flourish, they reproduce with more vigor in an oxygen-deprived atmosphere. So you see, microorganisms like viruses, fungi, bacteria that were dormant in yesteryears are now suddenly virulent, because the atmosphere is now so beautiful for them to thrive. It's an anaerobic bios. Now, this is why anaerobic diseases have become more rampant, beginning from about the 1980s. Most of the microorganisms that existed before 1980, in the 1950s, in 1960s, 1970s, but they weren't causing diseases in humans as such. Suddenly, from 1980 upwards, they started causing diseases in humans, because now they have found a conducive atmosphere, an anaerobic atmosphere, a very acidic atmosphere. That's the kind of atmosphere they're looking for, and now they have found it, and so they are not very virulent. Again, we can't go beyond this point today. I wish we could extend the time, but God will give us many more Mondays, and we're going to be continuing this conversation on oxygen therapy, medical gases. But before I discuss how to, enrich our body with oxygen, I want us to first of all see our need for oxygen. Why oxygen is so important in the health equation, and why we must be deliberate and do all we have to do to ensure that we don't become anaerobic, we don't become low on oxygen deprived, but we become highly oxygenated. And that is a plus for our wellness and our well-being. Once again, don't forget, what we need is not more medication, but more education. For the best prescription is knowledge. For when you are well-informed, your life will be transformed. But to be uninformed is to be deformed. Again, this is Exposé with Tony Akinyemi, brought to you by the Shepherd's Flock International Church. We thank God for bringing us to the end of this month. As we enter next month, I pray that it will get better. Thank you for spending your Monday evening with me. Please share this video with your friends and your colleagues, your neighbors, your relatives, even your enemies, so they can become your friends, because when they benefit, they will love you and they will thank you. Once again, see my ozone generator bubbling right there. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Once you bubble the ozone through it, you can then drink it, or you can put it into the nebulizer and nebulize it. Wow. Thank you, and God bless you. Bye-bye. Let me seize this moment to especially invite you to our upcoming 5F conference. It's our annual event. We started during the COVID year, and the maiden edition was a blast. And then in 2021, we had the second edition. The third edition is coming up this year, and September 30 to October 2. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I want to specially invite you to be my guest. If you are in Nigeria and you are in the Lagos area or even in Ogun State or your state, I invite you to join us live in our Worshiptorium at 18 Shogunle Street, Abule Onigbagbo, off Mobolaji Bank, Anthony-Way. Ikeja is between Sheraton Hotel, Ikeja, and Eko Hospital. It's going to be a life-transforming conference. We deal with 5 major issues of our lives. Our faith, very, very foundational, very fundamental. And then our fitness, that's our health. Then we deal with our family issues, family. Then we deal with our finance. Then, of course, our future in this life and our future in the life to come. The whole essence of the 5F conference is to address those 5 important F's in our lives: your faith, your fitness, your family, your finance, and your future. And we have a lineup of incredible world-class, resource persons who will be ministering to us, some of them based in Nigeria, some based in Canada, and all of them will be talking to us from their areas of expertise. These are world-class facilitators. Now, if you don't live in Nigeria, just join us online. We will let the link be available to you one way or the other. Join us online or go to our YouTube channel, subscribe, and then when the time comes, your device will alert you that we have come live. It promises to be a life-changing experience. Thank you very much for your time and attention for this very brief advert on the 5F conference.